Picture a tuber so precious that an emperor of Rome accepted it as a form of payment. Imagine a plant so inherently sweet that for centuries it embodied the very essence of sugar before it was even conceived of in the Western world. It graced the banquets of royalty, sustained ascetics through bitter winters, and offered a taste so profound that modern parsnips seem utterly bland in comparison. Yet if you venture into any supermarket today, you won't find it. You won't even see an empty spot on the shelf where it once belonged. This isn't a tale of a crop that failed due to inherent weakness or unpalatable flavor. On the contrary, it was forsaken for the precise opposite reason. It was too intricate, too untamed, and too unique for a food production model that prizes sameness above all else. We exchanged the most saccharine root known to history for a convenient, vibrant orange stick that fits snugly into a plastic bag. This is the narrative of skirret, the lost sweetness from the earth, and the industrialized decision that purged it from our collective memory. To comprehend why skirret vanished, one must first understand its nature. Sium sisarum is not merely another root vegetable. It stands as a botanical marvel in the realm of garden edibles. Most of the roots we consume today, such as carrots, parsnips, and turnips, are biennials. You sow them, they mature over a single season, you harvest them, effectively ending their life cycle, and then you must replant from seed the following year. They represent a continuous cycle of demanding effort. Skirret, however, is different. It is a robust perennial. It operates on a long-term strategy. Once planted, it establishes a permanent, thriving presence. Beneath the surface, it doesn't develop a single, orderly taproot. Instead, it proliferates into a cluster of contorted, pale tendrils, referred to as phacosachlus. Its appearance is less akin to a typical vegetable, and more evocative of a concealed cache of riches. This root structure functions as an energy reservoir. Because the plant is engineered to endure harsh winters, it imbues these roots with concentrated levels of natural sugars, serving as an internal antifreeze. But this goes beyond mere survival. Laboratory analyses reveal a striking depiction of what we have relinquished. When stripped of its modern presentation, the common orange carrot is predominantly water, comprising approximately 88% of its mass. It contains roughly 10% dry matter. Skirret, on the other hand, is an entirely different entity, boasting a dry matter content reaching up to 18%. This signifies that with every mouthful, you are receiving nearly double the actual nutritional sustenance and mineral richness compared to the diluted produce of contemporary agriculture. And then there are the figures that truly signify energy. A typical supermarket carrot yields, on average, about 4.7 grams of sugar per 100 grams. Skirret far surpasses this metric, registering between 10 to 15 grams of sugar per 100 grams. Contingent on the severity of frost. This represents a threefold increase in caloric density. But the most astonishing revelation lies in its micronutrient profile. We are educated to consume carrots for their health benefits, yet they provide a mere 5.9 milligrams of vitamin C per serving. Skirret delivers upwards of 25 milligrams, a more than four-fold boost in antioxidant potency. This is the plant's inherent strength. While other crops succumb to rot or bitterness when the ground freezes, skirret actually improves. The greater the chill, the sweeter it becomes. It is virtually impervious to frost, flourishing in climates where more delicate annuals would perish. It embodies a biological pledge of abundance, requiring almost no external intervention to fulfill its promise. This resilience propelled skirret to prominence in the ancient world. It was not initially considered humble fare for the destitute, it was a delicacy. The Roman Emperor Tiberius was so captivated by skirret's distinctive flavor that he eschewed varieties cultivated in the warmth of Italian soil. He insisted that his supply be transported directly from the cooler regions of the Rhineland, imposing significant levies on the local populace, not in coin, but in these very roots. To the Roman aristocracy, it was more than just a vegetable. It was a sweet indulgence. For centuries following the demise of Rome, skirret maintained its status. In medieval Europe, it was known as chervin or crick, and was a staple in monastic gardens. The monks, who were the foremost agriculturalists of their time, cherished it for a specific reason: the hungry gap. In the agricultural calendar, a critical period of scarcity emerges in late winter and early spring. Stored grains dwindle. Apples begin to spoil in the cellars, and the nascent spring greens have yet to emerge. This is a time of widespread hunger. However, skirret, being perennial and hardy against the cold, could be unearthed from the semi-frozen earth even in March. It provided a vital infusion of sugar and starch when larders were bare. It was prepared by boiling, stewing, or, most famously, coated in batter and fried into delectable fritters. It served as the crucial link that guided communities from the depths of winter into the promise of spring. It reigned supreme for a millennium. So how did a plant possessing such a distinguished lineage and practical utility vanish so completely? Skirret's decline was not attributable to disease or pests. It stemmed from a transformation in human attitudes, precipitated by the agricultural revolution of the 17th century. This epoch marked a transition in farming practices, moving away from subsistence cultivation, growing solely to eat, towards market-oriented production, growing to sell. Enter the orange carrot. Prior to the 1600s, carrots were typically purple, white, or yellow, and often possessed a woody texture. However, Dutch horticulturalists, driven by a patriotic fervor for scientific advancement, began to cultivate a strain of carrot that was distinctively orange, mirroring the color of the House of Orange, the ruling family of the Netherlands. But their efforts extended beyond mere coloration. They also bred for structural characteristics. The new Dutch carrot was straight, it was smooth, it was uniform. It presented as a singular, tapering cone that could be effortlessly extracted from the soil in one motion and wiped clean with a single cloth. It was the ideal commodity for trade. Skirret was unable to compete with this visual paradigm shift. In the marketplace, the human eye is naturally drawn to vibrant colors and clean, uncluttered forms. The contorted, pale tendrils of skirret appeared unrefined and primitive, juxtaposed against the sleek, modern carrot. We began to make our culinary choices based on visual appeal, prioritizing the aesthetic qualities of a vegetable over the intricacies of its flavor. The carrot emerged as the soldier of the Industrial Revolution, uniform and compliant. Skirret, conversely, was the wild poet, complex, untidy, and inherently resistant to standardization. But the issue extended beyond mere aesthetics. As agriculture began to scale up, it encountered fundamental challenges with skirret's physical structure. If you were to bite into a raw skirret root, you would discover a firm, white interior. In older specimens, there was often a thin, woody core running down the center, much like the fibrous strand found in an old-fashioned green bean. To consume it comfortably, one had to cook it to soften this core, or meticulously breed the plant to minimize its presence. This demanded a moment of focused attention at the dining table. Furthermore, those clustered roots, the fascicles that contribute to its exceptional productivity, presented a significant impediment to mechanized harvesting. They retained soil. You could not simply subject a cluster of skirret to an industrial rotary washer or a mechanical peeler. It required manual intervention to separate the cluster and meticulously cleanse the soil from its crevices. When the tractor and the processing plant assumed dominance on the farm, skirret was sidelined. It was deemed inefficient. The industrial food system is predicated on speed and volume, not on nuanced flavor and nutritional density. A crop that necessitates careful handling, a crop that cannot be harvested by a combine harvester and cleansed by a high-pressure water jet, is a crop with no viable future within a capitalist supply chain. Consequently, seed catalogs ceased to offer it. Farmers abandoned its cultivation. Within the span of 2 generations, the emperor's favored root was relegated to the status of a weed, persisting only in the enclosed environments of botanical gardens and in the fading recollections of the elderly. However, the very characteristics that led to skirret's obsolescence in large-scale agriculture render it a remarkable asset for the home gardener. If you are weary of the annual cycle of tilling, sowing, thinning, and replanting, skirret offers a definitive escape. It is the ultimate crop for the indolent cultivator. Because it is a perennial, you only need to acquire the seed or a root crown once. For harvesting, you simply excavate a mature clump, detach the largest, whitest tendrils for your kitchen, and then return the root crown to the soil. It will regenerate. It is an unending food source hack. You are not depleting your reserves. You are managing a living entity. In the culinary domain, the woody core may deter some, but it ought not to. When roasted, the core often softens or can be easily extracted. Its flavor is a revelation. It possesses the sweetness of a carrot, but with a nutty, aromatic depth that evokes hints of parsley and parsnip. It is sophisticated. It tastes of history. For the permaculture designer, skirret is an invaluable tool. It thrives in the understory of fruit trees, occupying the shaded niches where sun-loving vegetables struggle to grow. It establishes a calorie-rich ground cover that suppresses weeds and draws nutrients from the soil, providing sustenance from areas that typically lie fallow. The story of skirret serves as a potent reminder that advancements in agriculture often come at the expense of quality. We sacrifice Europe's sweetest root for the convenience of a vegetable that is effortlessly peeled. We have permitted machinery to dictate our diets, constricting the vast biodiversity of the past to a select few crops that fit conveniently into a shipping container. Yet, we possess the agency to withdraw from this system. Cultivating skirret today is an act of botanical defiance. It represents a rejection of supermarket aesthetics and a reclamation of authentic flavor. It is a declaration that you are willing to engage with the soil to experience a taste that Emperor Tiberius valued above all riches. It is time to reintroduce the crumbic to our tables. It is time to plant a legacy that endures year after year, growing sweeter with each frost, triumphing over the industrialized winter.